in the Plate and Traditions channel. Welcome to the Plate and Traditions channel with your host Kendra Moses.
Hello and welcome to the Plate Traditions channel. My name is Kendra Moses. As always, we have our resident chef Kai off camera. I can sit here and attempt to tell you about a handful of herbs and spices and what they ideally should or do taste like. But the thing is, I'm doing this as one, a person who's familiar with a handful of spices. And when I mean a handful of spices, I mean that depending on who you are, I may have a higher catalog, so to speak, in my mind about what a certain handful of spices taste like. And this catalog in my mind might be subpar in relation to someone else. For example, if I were to encounter someone from India, I will wager that their level of spice knowledge as far as knowing what each and every spice tastes like. We're not really concerned about their scientific names or anything else, but sheer amount of spices that they use for most of their cuisines are a great indicator about the availability of spices and herbs where they're from. So, ergo, it's like second nature. They are very familiar with what each and every spice is and what they taste like. So their mental catalog, so to speak, those receptors in their brains that can translate to them a memory and a sensation where the taste buds said from the time they initially ate the food, initially ate the spice, and those taste buds translated that information up into their brain. Now we're to a point now, that's a memory, that's basically a catalog. And from that point on, they can know that whenever they want a certain dish, they know exactly what spice to choose because they know what type of flavor that's going to add to their food. Because you have a constant translation between mouth and head, mouth and head, mouth and head. And so their catalog of information may make my quote-unquote handful of spice knowledge seem like only thing I know about is salt and pepper. So, and then in contrast, there might be someone out there who might not be as comfortable or familiar with spices. And so my handful of spice knowledge may actually seem like a plethora of spice knowledge. And why is all this important? All this is important because spices are not very easy to explain what they taste like. You only really know what a spice or herb tastes like because you've tasted it. You can get some similarities between spices and herbs, but at the best of times, you can only really classify a spice and herb by what is usually referred to as a flavor profile. So when you're cooking, and especially when you get to the culinary arts, you may very well hear flavor profiles quite a bit. Now the flavor profiles are easier to do because the flavor profiles are basically just mimicking what our taste buds naturally does. So our taste buds are able to taste automatically salty, sweet, umami, spicy even. These are flavor profiles. And so these are something that we don't learn. This is for I use this word loosely, but for a normal, healthy human being. These profiles that's on your tongue, these receptors that are on your tongue that allow you to taste something and say, oh, this is bitter, oh, this is sour, oh, this is sweet, oh, this has an umami flavor, or this is quite spicy. those things are quite inherent. You inherit it, so to speak. And it doesn't matter what region you are from. It doesn't matter if you come from some place that is rich in spices and herbs, or some place that is quite bland when it comes to any type of flavoring. It really doesn't matter. Average human being, a typical human being, is grown with the ability to have their tongue have the food distinctions as soon as the food hits your mouth. And why does this happen? Genetics, DNA, the human body is an incredible thing. And I am not going to try to stand here and give an explanation as to why this is, but the thing is, I started with taste, because how else would I start? If we were talking about herbs and spices, taste is the most logical way. But the thing is, I can't teach you taste. I cannot teach you taste. I can't even teach you what spices taste like. I can teach you about where spices are usually drawn from, usually the seeds of the plant. I can teach you where the herbs are drawn from, usually the leaves of the plant. I cannot tell you or teach you taste, because taste is something that is experienced, and it's experienced on an individual level. So there's no way on this planet that I could teach you taste, because even our perception of taste as we know it now is something that we just know based off the information before us and what we actually experience. And we're telling someone, well, it tastes like an apple. Well, such and such thing tastes like an apple. So we were comparing something that's not an apple to the flavor of an apple. But that's only beneficial if someone has actually tried out an apple before. If we're dealing with someone who has never ate an apple in their life, and they might even know the word for it, but they just said, no, I've never eaten an apple though, so I still don't know what you mean. I still have no idea what that tastes like. You cannot teach them taste. If they haven't tasted it because of an allergy or something like that, then you can't use that as an example. You can't just bring them an apple and say, well, it tastes like this, go ahead and take a bite. You can't do that. But if the thing that you're comparing it with, if they have no health anomalies or no objections or any level of trying it out, the only way you could get them to know what it tastes like is to have them try that actual item. But in either regards, whether you want them to try the thing that you're comparing it with, or to try the thing that is actually as the matter of discussion or debate, they have to try it to really know themselves. Because there's no real comparison unless your taste buds know. That's why I think it's very important and imperative to kind of to actually taste the food that you're going to be using as you cook. And that includes herbs and spices. I have yet to really taste a spice, in my personal opinion anyway, that I could say, well, that spice tastes exactly like that spice. I have yet to do that. To my knowledge, to my mental Rolodex, recall, whatever you want to call it, I cannot think of a spice right now that makes me say, oh, it tastes exactly like that. So spices are really one of those things that you can't just make the comparison. I really can't give you a taste of a spice and tell you, oh, it tastes primarily just the same. You might get away with subtle notes and hints and profiles. In my personal experience, there's no one spice that could really completely replace the other. And I'm not just talking about the recipe method. I'm talking about even the agat method, where you just season things as you see fit. You go by your own personal taste, your own experiences. You're not working on a recipe. You're not working on someone hovering over you to tell you exactly what to put. Your gut feeling says cinnamon has to always be in this dish. And so in that case, you will miss it. Because if you don't have it, you don't have that flavor. It's nothing really directly comparable to it. Now again, this is all my personal opinion, but it's a strong enough opinion for me to sit here as a potential instructor to your experience to tell you that I can't tell you what a spice tastes like. And I said I can't tell you what a spice tastes like because of that exact reason. I can give you flavor profiles. I can use things like earthy and kind of sweet and what have you. I can describe what the typical color tint of it usually is. But I cannot tell you what any spice tastes like because things like taste is a very introspective thing. And even if we have a situation where we have 100 people lined up, so we have 100 people that said they all like something, 100 people that said they all dislike something, 100 people that said they taste all the exact same flavor profiles of every spice and herb that comes across their palate. I'm willing to wager that those 100 people cannot come up to someone, that 101 person who said they never tried cinnamon. You have 100 people in agreement about what cinnamon tastes like, what it smells like, what it looks like. But they cannot tell this 101 person what it exactly tastes like. Like I said, they could do the same thing I could attempt to do, kind of sweet, earthy undertones. But lovely aroma. But to tell them verbatim what it tastes like without them tasting it, it is a difficult, if not impossible feat. And you like to think that with all the different variations of spices that we have out there, that there is a way to just do this. Maybe for spices that are typically spice blends. Those spices that get sold to us in the stores or the markets or what have you, that receive a completely different name for what they are, but they are a spice blend. They are amalgamation of a number of different spices at a certain ratio. Maybe different ratios depending on who produces it or manufacture it. Maybe the same ratio no matter where you go in the world. Those things might be comparable. You might say, oh, I taste a hint of this or that. But they are only comparable because they are a spice blend. And I am open to any opinion about this that you may have. However, I do not feel that comfortable or confident in saying that I can walk up to someone and tell them in words, taste. I could give them the definition of taste and perceived or experienced flavor. In the dictionary, you'll find it to be a cessation of flavor perceived by the mouth. Billions of people on this earth, we're all going to have a lot of similarities just as well as we have a lot of differences. But to say that even given a dictionary definition like that we can say the mouth is going to perceive the exact same thing. Thank you again for joining us for another week. We hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.